Good evening. I'd like to call the governing board meeting of the Lammersville Unified School District to order on Wednesday, February 5th at 7 p.m. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded, so I do ask you to kindly turn off or silence your cell phones at this time. Tonight we have some amazing guests with us. We have some students from Wickland Elementary School. They are here with Principal Duran and one of our great teachers, Mrs. Vollmer. And so at this time, I'd like to invite them to the podium to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to its republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and I do believe you have a presentation for us tonight.
Good evening, Dr. Nicholas and trustees. Thank you for having us here tonight. I have some pretty phenomenal students that create that positive vibe at Wickland, and they have created a presentation to show all the cool things that they have done.
What's up at Wickland?
For this year's ASB committee leaders, we have Samuel Verghese, Kanishka Potker, Ananya Suresh, and Nishanvi Kandela, me, Achut Nair, and Joshua Butzner, who is currently not here.
We have many activities during our school year, and our biggest fundraiser is called Splashathon, where we have students sign up to have like fun activities and all. And we have like fundraising booths that go to like classes and field trips. And we also have a homecoming parade that the whole district lines up on Central, and we have our floats, and we like start playing music to show spirit. And we also have dances to improve our school spirit. And recently we had our winter formal, and lots of the students enjoyed it. And we are also planning to have many more in the future, including maybe some this year. We also have students in our leadership class held by Ms. Foster work with us in ASB to help get out some like school building activities. And our most recent one was a student selling kindness bracelets during Kindness Week. And we also have Halloween parades during Halloween, where the students all line up in order and walk around the campus, and parents can see them, and everyone like gets to have fun showing off their costumes. And also my committee activities holds lunch activity weeks during many different weeks, like Inclusion Week, Red Ribbon Week, and Kindness Week. And we have activities for the students to play during their lunch times.
We have something called the PBS store, and as we may have mentioned before, we have a PBS store that has snacks, toys, stickers, and more. Students can earn these by earning character cash. Character cash can be obtained by heroes or students that show off heroes traits such as honest to all, encouraging to everyone, respectful to everyone and myself, optimistic mindset, eager to learn, and safety first. These can be given by staff, which include teachers, lunch supervisors, custodians, and monitors.
For our sports at Wickland, we've been working with our leadership students, where we've created player posters for our graduating athletes, which are shown in the volleyball section and the basketball section. And we have them for our graduating class because we want them to have like a nice send-off, so they feel like they've been appreciated and like they've been enjoyed. And for our volleyball season itself, we've done spectacular this season by winning first place in the district. And as for our basketball season, we're currently having our semifinal week, with our girls having their semifinals yesterday and our boys having them tomorrow. As for our soccer season, which is upcoming next trimester, we're currently having our tryouts, which are coming up very, very soon. And we're splitting up the teams differently this year. We're going to be having our girls team going to be different and a boys team differently, where our girls team is going to be 6th through 8th grades and our boys team is also going to be 6th through 8th grades.
We have ideas for the future. In Wickland, we have many ideas, including middle school rallies where we bring up school spirit throughout our middle schoolers. Also, we have heroes activities. Like the character traits before, we want to increase this by doing activities with all the students. We also have interactive assemblies. In these assemblies, we do like skits and plays for the students to be more interactive and be more connected with the assemblies. For example, in the first week of March, we're doing an assembly called Read Across America, where we're gonna like perform like skits of like a favorite like scene or from a book or a movie. And also, finally, we're doing dances for all the grades. Yeah. Do we have any questions?
Great job. Thank you guys for coming and presenting to us. Three things that I think are super cool. One is the store that you guys run that people, students can purchase based on good things that they do throughout the day and the years is really cool. I know there's been a lot of parents in the community that wanted a girls sports teams. And so that's really, really great to see that come to fruition at Wickland for soccer. And then the third thing is, just the ideas for the future. Keep innovating, right? You guys are constantly coming up with different ideas and new things to try. Keep trying them, do a quick test and learn, see if it works, and then try something else if it doesn't work, right? So keep pushing the boundary. I love the ideas, and I think you guys are going to do great, more great things.
I would like to say that was a great presentation, and I really like to, it's so nice to see that all of you are in your school spirit wear colors, and the presentation was also in your school colors. Great job. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. You guys did a great job. And if you would like to stay, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. Otherwise, you're free to go and go home and do homework or spend time with families. Thank you. Item 3, roll call, please.
Lisa Boulay,
Here.
Benita Daniel,
Here.
Semik Modi,
Here.
Stephanie Olson,
Here.
David Pombo,
Here.
Devika Vitalani.
Here.
Item 4, approval and/or corrections to the agenda.
There are none.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Olson and second by trustee Daniel, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no noes. Item 5, committee reports. A, District Advisory Committee, that's me, and there's nothing to report. Item B, District English Language Advisory Committee, trustee Modi.
Thank you. The committee met on January 23rd in the district office boardroom. Discussion included the LPAC, which is an annual assessment measuring English learners' progress. That window for testing is February 1st through the end of May. There is no opt-out for this assessment, so all of our students will take this. It's a combination of paper-based or computer-based, as well as some speaking portions. In addition, they reviewed the goals for the local control accountability plan. It included, some strategic actions that'll be taken, including increased access to the CTE pathways, A through G completion, and AP coursework. Professional development for staff was also discussed, and the, I'm going to get the acronym wrong, the CASP testing results were also reviewed for our English learners. Mostly had increases. Math decreased by 1%, but science and English learning both increased. And we continue to outpace our other districts within San Joaquin County and close our gaps with our East Bay districts. And the next meeting is on April 17th, 2025, as a joint meeting with the Education and Extracurricular Committee. Any questions?
Thank you. Item C, Education Committee, trustee Pombo.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Item D, Facilities Committee, trustee Olson.
The next Facilities Committee meeting is tomorrow, February 6th at 6:30 p.m. here in the boardroom.
Thank you. Item E, Policy Committee, Trustee Daniel.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Item F, Safety Committee, Trustee Pombo.
Yes, the Safety Committee met on January 23rd. We went over site safety reports, potential parking violation form at Mountain House High School. We discussed the run, hide, and fight video and workplace violence prevention program.
Thank you. And item G, Wellness Committee, Trustee Olson.
The next Wellness Committee meeting will be on Wednesday, February 12th at 3:45 p.m. in the Professional Development Center.
Thank you. Item 6, Governing Board Reports. Student Board Member Vitulani.
Good evening, everybody. To start off my report, I wanted to talk about the ASB updates. So leadership is holding a Sweetheart Sway Week next week. And basically, this is for Valentine's Day. It's Valentine's Day themed. And we have a bunch of activities in the quad to basically give back to our student body and to build trust with them. We also have ASB elections coming up at the end of the month if for any students that are interested in running. For club updates, Speech and Debate has its last YFL this weekend, right before their state competitions, so I wanted to wish them a very best of luck. For mock trial, we had round 2 last night, and it went amazingly well. Results came out this afternoon, and Mountain House is currently at 2nd place, and we hope to carry on with that next Tuesday. And I wanted to wish the academic decathlon students a very big congratulations. They were able to bring home over 9 awards. For additional high school updates, I wanted to give the counselors a huge shout out as they have course registrations that are due tomorrow, and they've been extremely helpful and working with all the students to ensure that all their needs are met. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Daniel.
Thank you, President. On Jan 22nd, I attended the DARE graduation at Costa. On Jan 23rd, I attended the ethics training workshop along with all the other trustees in person. On Jan 28th, I watched the CSBA's webinar on immigration policy, and I spent time understanding the BBAR 5145.13. It was followed up by an email from Dr. Nicholas on assuring that our policies are aligned to the state law, and we are committed to ensuring that all our students feel safe, valued, and supported. On Jan 29th, I attended the DARE graduation at Altamont, and there ends my report.
Thank you. Trustee Pombo.
Thank you. Yes. On January 22nd, I attended the Safety Committee meeting, also the Costa Dare graduation, and the Cordis PTA meeting. On the 23rd, I attended the San Joaquin County School Boards Association meeting where I was elected president of the newly reactivated group, and then attended the school board's ethics training with my fellow board members. On January 27th, I attended the SJCOE CSBA budget workshop in Stockton, and then in the afternoon, the Lammersville School Foundation meeting. On the 29th, I attended the Lammersville Elementary Site Council meeting and the Bethany STEAM Night, as well as the Altamont Dare graduation. On January 31st, I attended the LUSD Honors Music Night, Band, Orchestra, and Choir performance. And we've got a lot of middle schoolers who are very, very talented and bode well for the future of our music program at Mountain House High School, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Trustee Olson.
On January 22nd, I attended the Safety Committee meeting with Trustee Pombo, and then with all of our trustees attended the Costa Dare graduation. And as has already been noted, January 23rd, I also trained the ethics training at the San Joaquin County Office of Education. And then on Friday, January 31st, I attended the Honors Music Concert and agree with everything Trustee Pombo said. It was amazing. It's wonderful to see the middle school programs being built out and becoming so strong, feeding into our high school. And just appreciate the effort of our district office and leaders that supply our district with so many music teachers. I know they've used Prop 28 funds to add even more support in that area, and I think the fruits of their efforts are being seen on the stage. And on February 4th, I attended the Cuesta basketball semifinal game I caught the whole game of the varsity girls, 7th, 8th grade girls against Wickland. That was a very exciting game. And then I saw some of the JV game. And congratulations to all the basketball teams. And thank you again to those in the district who work to give these students not just a season of basketball, but time to have like semifinals and finals experience. I think that's really fun. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Trustee Modi.
Okay, so I neglected to report this last meeting, but on January 14th, I met with Director Grijalva to better learn about our budget process. So I want to acknowledge that session and thank her for her patience, time, and willingness to answer my questions. January 24th, I met with Special Education Director Travis Manley to better understand our special education program and the progress that has been made by his team. Gained a lot of base level information and understanding there's much more work to be done. But I want to thank him for his time and wish his team the best. On the 23rd, I attended the ethics training with the fellow board members. On January 30th, I joined Nick Lanier, who's the president of our Lammersville Teachers Association, at a California Teachers Association dinner hosted in Stockton. Great opportunity to connect with our LTA president, other board members from within the county, and hear about topics of concern to our educators. On the 23rd, I had attended a webinar related to immigration policy, as several of my other board members had done. Agree with the comments made previously. On the 29th, I attended an ethical AI in education webinar. So this is interesting. It's continues to be something that obviously everyone hears about, and it's going to be interesting how that evolves as time progresses. On January 22nd, I attended Hanson STEAM Fair. They had snakes and reptiles, as well as a lot of really cool projects from students. So that was really nice to be able to attend. Attended the Costa Dare graduation with my fellow board members. I love seeing the songs, the Dare Idol, I believe it's called, that the students performs. So hopefully I can get to see more of those over the next couple of years. And then I did want to advise the board that I have 2 conflicts with upcoming board meetings on March 19th and April 16th with work travel. So I apologize in advance for that, but wanted to give as much notice as I could for planning purposes. And then lastly, on a personal note, my kindergartner, Zion, earned Student of the Month this year, so I'm really proud of him. So congratulations, Zion.
Thank you, and congratulations to your kindergartner. I'd also like to congratulate Trustee Pombo on his presidency to our Regional CSBA Committee. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's see, on January 18th, I virtually attended the USC Science Olympiad Invitational, and you may recall at our last board meeting, we did approve an overnight trip for Wickland to attend this. I knew somebody who was helping with the competition, so they sent me the link for the award ceremony, and I was really excited to hear Wickland's name come up multiple times. And in fact, out of 87 teams, Wickland placed 4th overall. So that's a huge accomplishment to them. So congratulations to Wickland Science Olympiad. I also attended a number of DARE graduations. On the 22nd, January 22nd, I attended Costa's. On January 29th, I attended Altamont's DARE graduation. And on January 30th, I attended Cordis's graduation. And I want to congratulate all of our 5th grade students and really appreciate the dedication of our 5th grade teachers and Officer Abs for making this program a success. On January 23rd, I also attended the CSBA webinar regarding the immigration policy. Very timely topic. I learned a lot about what's happening in the federal government, how the state of California is trying to protect our students, and how we as a district can be prepared. So that was a great webinar to attend. And then later that evening, I also attended the San Joaquin County Office of Education Board Workshop and Ethics Training. And then on the 29th, I attended a site visit at Cuesta. I'd like to thank Principal Vieira for taking me around and sharing the exciting things that are happening at Cuesta. And I always love seeing the things that we approve here at the board meetings put into place and put into practice. I'm a visual person, so I like to see things in action. So I think that's one of the great things about doing site visits. And then on the 31st, I also attended the District Honors Music Concert. And I would love to reiterate what Trustee Pombo said about our music program. And I love how all of our music teachers are really collaborating, and our schools are collaborating to really make some amazing musicians. And that's the end of my report. Item 7, receiving of public comments. I did not receive any blue comment cards. Is there any member of the audience who wished to make a comment? Okay, seeing none, I will forego reading the very long paragraph and move on to item 8, consent items for consideration. Actions proposed for consent are consistent with the approved practices of the district and are deemed routine in nature. Trustees receive board agenda background information in advance of scheduled meetings and are prepared to vote with knowledge on the consent items. Item A, governing board meeting minutes from the regular meeting January 15th. Item B, contracts under $50,000. Item C, ratification of certificated and classified personnel actions. Item D, updated 2024-2025 fundraisers. Item E, ratification of 2024-2025 inter and intradistrict transfer requests. Item F, ratification of 2025-2026 interdistrict transfer requests. Item G, ratification of budget revisions for December 2024. Item H, ratification of school-sponsored overnight trips. Item I, ratification of amendments to Bethany School Foundation bylaws. Item J, acceptance of donations. We have 2 donations. The first one is $25,000 estimated value of school supplies and copy paper from Amazon for Lammersville and Wickland, and a $25 gift card from Safeway towards Lammersville's school's paint night raffle prize. Would any member of the board like to pull any of these items for discussion or consideration? Okay, at this time, I'll take a motion to approve the consent items.
I motion to approve consent items.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Mode and second by Trustee Olson, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no noes. Madam Clerk, can you please do the honors?
Yes, we would like to welcome Hunter Peruggi as 7th and 8th grade mathematics and science teacher to the Lammersville family.
Item 9, district administrative reports. Item A, superintendent's report.
Yes, I have just a couple of items here. First and foremost, we opened enrollment on Monday, and we already have a large number of enrollees flowing into the district. I'll speak to that in more specific details in a second. And we have an intervention in English language arts called Spire. Our kids and our teachers implementing it are doing so well. The company has decided to spotlight our district for our good work. So it was nice to get a shout out when our work, the company wants to brag about what we're doing. So now last week or 2 weeks ago, I gave we'll call a robust presentation on facilities and facility funding. Already, this is such an active situation. Already things have changed. So I had mentioned that it was a possibility that Neighborhood I would be the second school built north of Byron Highway. I can tell you for sure, having met with the developer, that is going to be the case now. So we'll build J first, then I, then K. And there will not be a school in Neighborhood L because we're spending all the money on the 3 schools. They're currently in Neighborhood I doing the groundwork, the infrastructure work for 935 units of their 1,312 units. If you want to see what's going on, and I don't believe this is trespassing, so if I say this out of turn, just know, stop where any bad signs are. When you go on Byron Highway North, if you take a ride at the boat and take it to Kelso, you can take that around, and they were digging and finishing digging a lake all the way back at Old River. So all but 3 tracks of that section are currently being negotiated with a builder or sold to a builder. So we can anticipate a lot more development north of Byron Highway. So I bring that up to tell the following story. So 12 years ago, the district had 2,500, 2,600 students. No high school was open, though we had started construction. And the district was really in the spirit of a rural district. You had Lammersville as the heart and soul of the district, longstanding. You had Wickland and Bethany and Cuesta open. And so as the pressure of growth hit the district, we started a kind of an ongoing joke that, oh, well, we were running that off of a paper napkin. That, oh, yeah, that policy, we have found it somewhere in a drawer. It was on a paper napkin. And what happens with growth is you have to find all the paper napkins and get rid of them. And you have to create a real policy, a process, a procedure. And little by little, from 1,200 or 2,500 to 8,000, we have gone through a process of finding the paper napkins. And then what we discovered about 4,500 students was the processes that replaced the paper napkins were sagging under the weight of the growth and the number of people. And so based on what I presented last week and what we're seeing north of Byron Highway and south of Grant Line Road in College Park, we are confident that some of the systems that have been doing such a good job for us are going to start to sag under the weight of growth. So our senior staff, all of their teams below them are currently analyzing all the stuff we're doing, trying to anticipate. Do we need to add a person here? Do we need more space there? What kind of budget does that look like? All of those conversations about what it's going to look like when all people start moving into the houses, because it's going to come fast. It's not going to be like the last 2 years. It's going to be very fast. And so I want to thank the team out there because we're doing a lot of work trying to forecast an unknown. So with that said, we are very proud of our Drive to 9,000 initiative around the professional development for our mid-level managers and our school administrative teams. But there's a second component to that, and that is preparing for the growth that I just introduced right now. So I just want to give context that we currently have 8,032 students. We have 900 employees. And when you add the subs and the substitute teachers and the coaches, it's 1,100. And so when you think 2,500 people, our entire staff could fit into the multi-use room at the high school. And now when you count all the extras and the part-timers and the coaches, we have over 1,000. So it's insignificant because those numbers are going to change as well. So let me tell you how we try to figure things out. So at the start of the 24-25 school year, we had 7,919 students. At present, we have 8,032, which is a net increase from the start of the school year of 113 students. So that's a lot. Based on enrollment on Monday, which started on Monday, in transitional kindergarten and kindergarten, we have 237 signups already. So you haven't even heard the sound of the engine going yet, but it's coming. Now, if you take the size of this year's TKK class, that's 720 students. And I can tell you that the number for next year's is going to be larger than 720, but I'm going to use this for some paper napkin math. So the current senior class is 575 students. So if you take the numbers that we have and you drop the 575 and you subtract that from 720, that leaves you with 145 additional students. And if you add 113, which is how much we've grown this year, to the net increase in the district of 145, you have 258 extra students. I want to point out that they're hardly building any houses in Mountain House right now. Just a little bit in Altamont and a sprinkling here and there. There is a massive project in the south and a massive project to the north. So when I say we're getting geared up, it's going to be bigger, I think, than we've ever faced, unless there's some economic, like an economy issue. So just as a projection for next year, at this time, we hypothesize that we'll have 7,457 students in the system before we start the school year. And once you do some subtraction of seniors and you add the 720 TKK, you get 8,177 to start the school year. And then you add the 113 that we've grown, and that puts us at 8,290 students, or 8,300 students. So when you think year to year, we started the year last year at 7,009, or this school year, 24-25, 7,919, and we can predict, hypothesize approximately 8,300 this time next year with hardly any growth. So that's what a conversation in student services and in cabinet sound like here at Lammersville Unified. And so we try our best to predict. That affects HR and staffing. That affects the budget office and setting up the budgets and the budget cycle. That affects special ed and our student projections that we work out with our county SELPA. That affects curriculum and instruction, because we have to have books and things for kids to read. It affects all of the departments in all ways, shape, and form. And you don't know how many are going to show up, so you have to do a good job of the best job you can with the information you have. So I wanted to share that information with you because we have a $178 million operating budget. And generally speaking, we spend about 85 cents on the dollar on staffing, right? Staffing issues, salaries, budgets, benefits, stuff like that. And so the money that comes into us through LCFF, a sprinkling of state funds, and an even smaller sprinkling from the federal government, we have to make this all work. And so what I wanted to do is kind of just lay out to you real life example of what the facilities and funding chase ends up being here in the district office. And Madam President, that's my presentation.
I have a question. All those student numbers, how does that fit into the drive to 9,000?
Because the leaders who are being trained to be effective leaders and running their teams, we run thin. We don't overstaff. We push at the limits. So we have to make sure our systems are ready to rumble as those numbers hit. And so the application of that training will be highly functioning teams either running a great system or figuring out there's flaws in the system and we got to fix them fast and doing that well.
That question was just a bit tongue-in-cheek because we're going to hit the 9,000 number a lot sooner than we anticipated.
Yes, yes, sir.
And I was wondering when we're going to start the drive to 10,000.
Yeah, I might have missed on that.
Got two questions. One is, can you explain a little bit about, so I think when we were at Cortez, and I was talking to Principal Pacheco, they've got, I think, 7 TKK classrooms, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe when we do TK and K classrooms, there's different structures. So the bathrooms are in the classrooms and things like that. And so, and the other point to this is a lot of families that are moving to Mountain House are young families. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because if you're a young family and you're earlier in your career and you don't make as much money as you do later in your career, you can't afford to live in the Bay Area. And so those families are coming into Mountain House. And so that accounts a lot for that trend that you're seeing in terms of 700 TK and K students versus the 575, I think, seniors, right? And we're going to continue to see that. So that number, that disparity, in my view, is going to only grow. Mm-hmm. And every time we zone or have more residential development in this town, you're going to see that trend is my thing. So can you talk a little bit about if we have to go build or accommodate classrooms for TK and K expansion, what are we doing to, because are we putting bathrooms in more classrooms? What would we do? You know, can you take me through a little bit of that?
Right. So it kind of has evolved over time, but we have a facility at Cuesta, a facility at Altamont, a space at Hanson, space at Costa, which, with the exception of Costa, we're all set up for preschool. And there was anticipation at the time of the need of the community to have preschools because parents were commuting. So that's one part of the answer. The second part of the answer is we're almost done fully implementing the TK mandate.
Yeah, 'cause that's growing too.
That's growing
Yeah.
too. And they did give a little relief that it's 10 to 1 with a teacher alone, and it's 20 to 1 with a teacher and an aide. So we will be taking advantage of the teacher and the aide mandate because facilities are going to be problematic for all school districts. What I can tell you is each school we build, we're well aware of the TK challenges, and we've been effective so far in keeping ahead of it. Costa will be another example of that. But ultimately, I don't forecast the need to like put in restrooms for little people at the established schools because of the space we have at Costa, the space we have at Hanson, and if we need to put in additional TK facilities, those will be the first two spots.
Okay,
Not
so-
to mention Lammersville would be another option.
So just because I know a lot of people in the community are concerned when their children go to schools other than their neighborhood schools.
Right.
So we don't have TK at every campus. We don't plan to expand that.
Correct.
So those that are kind of filling in this TK mandate, where I think the birthday's now up to April or
Something like that.
they should expect to go to schools that have TK facilities, which may not be in their own neighborhood.
That is correct. And we will never be able to provide all people, all things in their village,
Sure.
in particular with TK.
Sure. Okay. The second question I had is, there's been a lot of, I'll call it whiplash at the federal level on freezing of funds and potential talk of, impacts to the Department of Education, where some of our funding comes from. Can you talk a little bit about what the federal funds, the smaller sprinkle that we do get, what programs those fund, and what, if any, plans we have in case we do lose or we see a stoppage of some of those funds?
Yes. So for a school community with small numbers of low income students, it's going to, any change at the federal level will have less of an impact. Most of the money is geared towards targeted student populations. So there's three titles. Title I is for low income students. Title II is for professional development. Title III has two parts. One is for English learners and the other is for immigrant students. These are guesstimations, but in the ballpark of, we receive 150-ish thousand for Title I, just over 60,000 for Title II for PD, just over 100,000 for English learners, and just over 45,000 for immigrant students. So it's a proportional share of your student population. The Title I money mostly goes to a Title I coordinator who supports the low-income students, in particular Lammersville Elementary School. We also do homeless student support, and then some materials that we buy. For professional development, our BITSA program, which is for beginning teachers, is like a mandate. You have to do training outside of your credential program, and we pay for that for our teachers. Bilingual aids is the primary resource we spend Title III out of for English learners. And Title III, it's a very small number, but we do tutoring, reference materials, and coordinator support. So all total in that, it's approximately a little more than $300,000 that we receive in title funds. In a previous incarnation, I ran state and federal programs for a very large urban district, and that budget 12 years ago was $33 million. Granted, on scale, we have 8,000, and that one had 38,000 students. But 85% of those students, I believe, are low income. Did that answer your question?
I don't even know if this was on. Sorry. Can I ask a question about on the revised budget, the number went from 1.9 million in November to 1.8. So is that different than what you just,
can you ask the question again? Because I'm gonna look out at our business people.
Sorry.
Because typically what happens is there's a thing.
And I'm not
that
trying to put
happens
anyone
where
on the
they
spot.
channel something
Yeah.
differently, but I'm not
Yeah.
gonna make up an answer here. So I may have to get back to you on that, but go ahead and ask it again.
It's in one of the consent items was revised budget, and the line items showed for November to December, I think it was 1.9 to 1.8 million. But regardless of the 1.9 versus 1.8, that's much different than the $300,000 or $400,000 I think that you were describing. So, do we get ballpark $2 million, or is it $500,000?
I think we'll
We know?
probably be talking about apples and oranges.
Okay.
I'll ask the budget people to come up. Gloria? Yeah.
Dr. Nicholas, is some of that special ed money?
There is a special ed part that I didn't talk about that
Okay.
comes from the feds, which is 740 million, or 1,000, sorry, 740 million we'd be swimming in dough. But yeah.
Yes, so also in the federal funding is the ESSERS, which expired. So we didn't receive any more money. It's gone. And the money that was not spent, they're going to take it back, so we don't count it. And for us, it was small amounts. One of them was about $7,000, and the other
Right.
one,
We have federal also special education dollars that we also receive. And so if we've got one-time dollars, as you mentioned, we spend them and then they're reduced because you don't get them again once they're spent.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that, and I think it's important for the community to know that when things happen at a federal level, while it may be small impacts, there are some students whose programs do rely on that funding, and that puts some of our students at risk. And I think it's important for everyone to realize that.
right.
Thank you. Those are all the questions I had.
Thank you, Dr. Nicholas. Item B, Williams Quarterly Uniform Complaint, October 24th through January 15th, 2025.
There were no complaints.
Thank you. Item C, District Maintenance and Operations Report. I see Director Dixon.
Good evening. Okay, so safety item first, the new box truck that we just got. We had backup camera and GPS installed on that this week. The band will be able to use that this Friday and Saturday, the first use of it. The old box truck is going to go out for liftgate repair here in the next 2 weeks. Civic permits opened up recently and went very smooth. Sites are at capacity with school and community use. The pool has had some issues with high chlorine the past few days. The tech was out working on it today and it should be usable by tomorrow. We have a few roof leaks at a couple of the sites from the most recent storm last weekend, and we're working through those. With the recent rains and more expected later this week, all the irrigation in the district has been turned off. We interviewed last Tuesday for the open lead maintenance position, and there's a candidate that's moving through the process right now. And we have many applicants for the open admin secretary position. They're looking to conduct those interviews sometime next week. Currently in operations custodial, there are no openings. Any questions?
Thank you. Item 10, action items. Item A, consider approval of the worksite agreement with the Chef Ann Foundation. Staff report?
Yes, so this was a popular grant that provided training to our food service team. There's a slight redundancy in this in that there's two sets of pre-interns. So to do our due diligence, we brought this back to ensure we had full board approval for the grant and the second round of pre-interns in this. And so very popular with the food service folks. They like the training. And if the kids are eating the good food and people are happy making it, that's good for us.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
Move to approve the worksite agreement with Chef Ann Foundation.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Pombo and a second by Trustee Daniel, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no noes. Item B, consider approval of a new unrepresented classified job description and salary effective February 1st for 2025, food service buyer. Staff report?
Yes, so this is an example of what I say about growth, right? We used to be able to handle all this in-house. This new position is very important. So we have a wonderful person who does our purchasing named June Teague. Fantastic person. We've gotten so big in food services that we need to have a June for the food service folks. This won't be the last job description for a new position we bring forward. And I think we can anticipate over the next couple of years that that'll be a lot of this, but this is just another example of the growth creates need.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
Move to approve a new unrepresented classified job description and salary effective February 1st, 2025, food service buyer.
Second.
Based on a motion by Trustee Olson and seconded by Trustee Modi, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with 5 ayes and no noes. Item 11, information and discussion items. Item A, address verification process. Staff report, please.
Yeah, again, another example of things you have to do as you grow is you have to add layers of checks and balances within a system. Trustee Modi referenced, parents wanting, obviously I live in the village. I want my TK kid to go here. This will ultimately help protect as many spaces as possible in villages for K-8 students. Executive Director Busatil is going to present just the general overview of what will be a pilot and then a district practice as we work out the kinks.
Good evening, President Boulay, trustees, Dr. Nicholas. Thank you for having me here this evening. So the recommendation for an address verification process came from a couple of different things. The first is the need to develop an efficient system to support our continuous growth. And the second is in response to concerns shared by parents and families that their students are not able to go to their school of residence because others from outside that specific village or perhaps from outside of our district are attending there. So as a team, we work to be very responsive to concerns shared. So another example of the team's response to input are the recent changes made to the Student Services website based off of a conversation that Trustee Modi and I had earlier this week. So we've already implemented those and published those changes. So district staff was very diligent prior to making this recommendation. We checked with 8 districts regarding their process for address verification. It's important to note that what might work for some other districts may not work for us because we experience a different rate of growth than many other districts. So 4 districts, Lincoln, Lodi, Jefferson, and Dublin, rely on just the Aries data confirmation process that we do annually. The downfall to this process is that there's no verification. It's dependent on parents self-reporting that they've moved, and then if a parent does self-report that they've moved, then staff has to follow up to get the verification documents. Fremont utilizes an informed K-12 process similar to ours in regards to the form, and the families do have to submit 2 forms of verifications in accordance with the regular enrollment process. Pleasanton requires an annual re-registration for their students. And then 2 additional districts utilize a process similar to Aries data confirmation. Power School is utilized in Livermore, and Infinite Campus is utilized in San Jose. So accurate enrollment is important because student enrollment determines the number of classes per grade level per school site. In addition to that, then those enrollment numbers determine staffing needs, both classified and certificated, which then helps us to determine the allocation of resources, which both are staffing as well as funds for the school sites, the programs, the extracurriculars, and all of those additional items. While we would like to utilize Aries, the truth is that it has very limited functionality. So one of the problems that it has is the inability to engage in 2-way communication. So we have that when we're doing the Aries data confirmation. Like I said, if someone indicates that there's an address change, staff has to then go into the email, get the documents, and then it's a back and forth. It's done through 2 different systems as opposed to one system. The additional is that district staff also utilize specific naming conventions to ensure ease of access for school sites. So all the documents are named the same so that we have clean student data records that are the same from school site to school site. In addition, it's not uncommon for parents to upload documents that then have to be deleted out of the student's digital CUME file, like during the initial enrollment process. So staff frequently get pictures of their yards, blank tables, dogs, clothing, luggage, lots of different things that aren't actual address verification documents. And so that does require some additional steps in communication from school sites. So we get a lot of cute pictures, but some of them are not quite what we're looking for. Aries also has very strict limitations on file size, which for most things is fine. However, sometimes parents don't understand that they can, cut down the size of a PDF that they're trying to upload to only give us the pertinent information. So we have that limitation. And parents have also expressed frustration with the ability to upload documents or use Aries on a mobile device. We're actually experiencing that this week with the enrollment window opening. And there's some frustration even in the Aries Air portion of Aries to where they're having to log on to a desktop device as opposed to doing things on their cell phone. So with that, we do have a proposed process. So district staff would like to send out communication on Friday, February 7th to all current 8th grade students. We're just proposing to start with one grade level. And then the applications or the enrollment, the address verifications would be reviewed from staff starting on the following Monday through March 24th. And then communication, we would provide input if the wrong documents have been attached, if we need something different. So that would happen as soon as we start receiving submissions. And then on March 25th, follow up with any families whose address has not been verified for students in 8th grade. Following that, we know we really just need parents to do the simple form on Inform K-12. It just has a few fields to enter and upload the 2 documents by March 24th. And then looking ahead, we would continue this process. We would like to say that we would be able to do 4 additional grade levels per school year. And then once we go through the cycle, then it would start over again. District staff is going to be activating additional fields in Aries. So if a family goes and does the address verification for their 8th grader, but they also have siblings in additional grades, we would be able to put a code so that when we send out the communication for other grade levels, they would not have to do it again for multiple students in the same home. And then that would limit them having to do the same exact process twice within a school year, 3 times within a school year, depending on the spacing of their students. And so with that, we are optimistic that we're going to make sure that we are being diligent about making sure that our staff and our additional resources, that students are going to the schools where they reside or they have an approved inter or intra-district transfer. Any questions?
I just had one question, kind of related to the growth and what Dr. Nicholas was speaking to just earlier. How much extra work will this create for staff? And I mean, will it require additional support in that area?
So I don't know that it would require additional support at this time. Staff feels very confident that they'll be able to go through. Some of it is going to be dependent on the follow-up that we have to do with families, or if families are having a difficult time understanding which documents to upload, which they do that day in and day out. So I feel confident that we'll be able to do it in the time that we've allotted.
Okay.
I appreciate that we're doing this with just one grade level to start with, so that before it's rolled out to more grade levels, the kinks can be worked out on both ends, on the parent side and also on the district staff side. And I think my mic was off, but sorry.
I heard you.
I'm just trying to understand the entire process, and you can correct me if my understanding is, somewhere incorrect. So we're going to pilot this with our 8th graders.
Correct.
And we're going to send out an email, and there's going to be, I happen to see the slides that was attached, and we have that button where you go ahead and submit 2 extra or 2 verification for address, and the sources of what needs to be provided is also mentioned there.
Correct.
And they can go ahead and input for multiple kids.
Correct.
At the same time.
On one form.
On one form. And at the end, upon submission, it reaches you, the student services, as an email with the attachment.
It goes through, so what happens is it goes through the Informed K-12 process. So all of them will be housed in a digital folder, if you will. But it does also, would also send an email to the LUSD enrollment saying that another form has been submitted. So it would be in 2 places, essentially.
2 places. And then our student services team will review.
Correct.
The form. And then if there are questions, you're going to be reaching out to the parent.
Correct. So when the student services receives that team, they're going to open up those attached documents and verify does it match the information that we have in Aries already. If the address is different and they've provided 2 forms of verification, then Aries would be updated. If they provide information that is exactly the same, then no additional changes would be done in Aries, and district staff would just indicate that the address verification has been completed.
Okay, thank you. So I have another question. So the deadline for this is March 25th, right? How do we approach this for an incoming student, an 8th grader who may, join in after March 25th?
So any student that's currently enrolling, we're already doing that same process upon enrollment. So we're catching those students as they're entering our district. It's more so meant to just verify that we have correct student records for our current students in our district. And we started with 8th grade because our high school program is we only have one high school. So that's why we wanted to make sure that we started there first.
Thank you. I really like the pilot program too. I'm looking forward to hearing more about the feedback and the results. And I also understand that you have planned for another 4 grades next year.
Correct.
Right? And I'm really looking forward to know which ones are those two.
As of now, we're anticipating that it would be grades 5, 6, 7, and then we would do 8 again because it would be a new 8th grade class going into the high school.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I've got questions and comments, and we did have a discussion just for transparency, and I went through some of my concerns, and we talked about that, I think, earlier this week. I love the idea of doing address verifications. I think we need it. Our district is growing. People are frustrated when they can't get their kids into neighborhood schools, and we could either help them, or we can at least validate the theory that everyone who goes to our schools lives here, and the data proves it out. So I leveraging data and facts, I think I'll share this, and I shared this with you previously. I don't think the form that is outlined is the right form to use for this process. The form at the top is meant for address changes, and it specifically says if you move within or outside of the district to use this form. To me, it's very confusing. If we have, I don't know the exact number, I'm going to use the same number. So if it's 575 8th graders that are going to get this notice, they're going to go to the form. They got to get the documents, which I think you could figure that part out. You got to re-enter your name. You got to re-enter the ID number. You got to pick school of attendance, which I don't think is defined on the page. At the bottom, then there's drop downs that reference school of residence, which is also, I don't think, defined. So for me, if we want to do address verification, I'm fine with, I would love it if it was in Aries, and I'll come back to that in a second. But if we're going to use a K through K-12 workflow, which I think keeps the documents, helps the team manage it, I would love it to just be a separate form that simply said, enter your student info and upload your 2 documents. The 4 options at the bottom, to me, are confusing. I don't think we need to shove the address verification process into this other use case for address changes. I think it's relatively easy to make a separate form just for address verification. So that's what I would do with the form as it is. The other thing, you mentioned a lot of limitations from a technology standpoint with Aries. And, I'll share that this week, map test scores, I think went out last week or this week. I opened up my app, tried to look at my children's test scores, couldn't do it. Submitted a help desk ticket. They told me, we actually don't suggest the app, go to the web portal. Went to the web portal, and then it was there. If we have all these limitations with this technology vendor that we use, at some point, and I know I've only been here for 2 months, we should really review, or I'd love to see the results of what other platforms exist out there that are more advanced technologically, because every time we ask parents to re-enter data, there's going to be, for 575 students, you're going to get people who don't enter their ID number right, they mess up on the name, they upload a picture of their backyard, and all of that creates extra work for our staff. And this time period, I think that you guys are talking about, is already when your team, I believe, is doing new enrollment. And so this is already, and probably throughout the entire year, is already a busy time always.
So let me address
Sure.
The history of student information systems. When I started teaching, we took roll and we wrote down the kids that were absent, and we put on a clip outside the door. And then Power School came in, I think, or I can't remember, but none of them are good.
Okay.
They're a necessary evil almost, and they promise more than they can do, and they have aspects that are in the ballpark of what they promise. I would say that if you were to say I'm not satisfied with Aries, I don't think there'd be any argument. But a transference to another one like Power School would be a
migrations are hard. I got it.
We are same thing's happening with the student data on our assessments and stuff. Is we're having to build our own thing because none of the companies will share their OSI systems and things like that. So with the system that we have that our entire district utilizes, flaws and all, staff does a really good job of managing the problems. In a world where something new comes out that's worthy of looking at, we'd be
Sure.
not maybe first in line because we'd want to find out if it really truly is, but we would be on the second wave. But right now, Aries is what we've got and what we know how to use.
Yep.
And this affects, like, you got to remember, enrollment numbers and how it's calculated in the budget during P1 and P2. It affects CalPAD's upload. It affects and that's how the state monitors everything we do. So this is a very small piece of double checking we're not getting gamed, and trying to do best customer service. But it also is this big monster that takes care of a lot of other really monolithic things for us. So I agree with you that if something good comes along, we ought to jump second in line.
Yeah, I'm not here to say we should ditch Aries. I'm here to say it's frustrating that there's multiple aspects that seem to be very limiting,
Right.
and I just expressed a frustration.
Yeah.
One of the last thing I wanted to talk about was the grades. I think that you guys are planning on doing. I think especially in light of the increased, I know we check at kindergarten at enrollment and TK probably. I would suggest maybe even like a third grade check or somewhere in that middle before sixth grade, simply because it might help validate that K through 5 population a little bit more, and you don't skip 5 grades between checking at kindergarten and then all the way up at sixth grade. So, but I would really ask if there's a different form that we could use that is much simpler, both for the parents of the community as well as hopefully that would minimize the callbacks and emails that your team would have to do.
And just to clarify, this form actually has already been revised. And so it says, please submit this form for address verification, or if you've moved within or outside the LUSD boundaries. And so that part has already been amended.
Okay.
And so we are asking parents to enter a few fields. There's entering their student name and their student ID number. And then there is a drop down for student grade and school of attendance. So with that, I appreciate that it does feel like it maybe is 2 separate processes, but the processes are actually the same thing with 2 different names for district staff. So I think we would be comfortable proceeding as outlined because it is the same thing of the same information and then providing the same documentation, whether it's a change of address or address verification.
Is the text at the bottom that talks about if this changes your school of residence, select. Is there a way to just simply say, if you're simply submitting address verification, this is not for you?
No, because sometimes students are requesting a change. So that's the whole point of this form is just meant as the starting point or the launch point for the customer service aspect of student services. So this isn't meant to do all of it because we don't have the families entering their address, their phone numbers, or anything else, like you said, that we already house in Aries. It's more so of us just verifying, do we need to provide additional support to this family? Is it a student that is updating an address through the address verification or the change of address, whichever term you would like to use? And we need to make sure that they know the correct transfer paperwork because they would like to have the opportunity to stay at their school. They want to stay at Cuesta even though they've moved to Bethany. So it's meant as a launching point for staff to be able to provide support and customer service.
And I think the thinking behind a pilot, and I think we're very effective at running pilots. We screw things up, but we've learned over time that don't rush. And so by doing this over the course of the semester, any suggestions and or new things that come up or things that work really well, that's the purpose of just starting small with 1 grade level. And then we'll find out what works and what doesn't. I mean, that's what we typically do here is present to the board. This is a change in practice. Here's what we plan to do. Provide, take the feedback. Parents may love it. Parents may hate it. So
I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I say this a lot. I say it at work too. Is I'm very cautious, but I'm optimistic. Right? If I do think it'd be helpful to at least find a way to get some feedback. Right. From parents, because it'd be great to see how many people did we have to go back to, how much time did we spend on that, things like that.
And
but-
here's what I can tell, and everyone here will agree with me. If we're doing customer service and we're talking to people, the level of frustration will be very apparent in each of the conversations. So, and I can tell you that her team, under her leadership, is they do a very good job of talking with people. They have busy periods for sure, but at the end, they all take pride in trying to do right for folks.
I'll push back a little bit. And I'm not saying the customer service is not good, but as a parent, I would love it if I could fill out a form and then I don't got to deal with it again. It's like talking to your cable company. Like, yeah, they might be able to take care of my problem. I don't want to talk to them.
Sure.
Right. And so that's why I'm pushing for, if we can simplify a form for 575 students that are largely just going to 90%, I'm going to make up a number, are just going to, don't have to move, aren't picking that, especially for those, if we're in our pilot, we're going to the high school, you're not changing, hey, I live in Bethany, I want to go to Wickland. Everyone's going to the same high school. If we could simplify it as much as possible for, just put ourselves in the shoes of 8th grade parents. All I want to do is submit this information and go on with my day. And to me, it could lead to confusion just based on the information that's being asked.
That's fair. Time will tell. And we are not the cable company at all. I know you were doing that tongue in cheek. And so we will find out if what they put together is right on, spot on. I know they've made some changes on some suggestions already, and let's see what it does. And if people are frustrated, then they'll have to be responsible for finding a better way.
Okay.
But we have to start somewhere.
I have a question. So I'm just trying to, be the parent who's submitting the form. And once I submitted and I have a address verification out there and it doesn't satisfy, let's say for whatever reason, it's not fitting in within the requirement. But it's gone to 2 sources and one of it is reached the student services. So is it now you're going to check and you're going to reach out to the parent via email? So it starts an email communication?
It's all in the Informed K-12s. So we use a lot of these processes just internally and also some externally as well, like for independent study and things like that. So if something comes in on Informed K-12 and something is not correct, which would likely be the attachments in this scenario, within Informed K-12, that form can be sent back to the initiator. So all within the same system. And so the initiator would get an email saying that there are corrections requested, and then district staff is able to type a comment in there so that they would know what corrections are needed, give directions. It's very clear. And then if there was a continued concern, like they're just not understanding, then we could go ahead and just do, traditional customer service, either come in or a phone call or something like that. But as of now, it's all slated to be within the Informed K-12 platform.
And they would just attach another form and it
Correct.
Again reaches, it goes through the same process.
Correct.
Again.
And then it would come back into the inbox, if you will. And then staff would go ahead and look at it. When someone also submits something, they also get a confirmation that their form has been submitted and when things have been completed.
Thank you so much. But I also want to say that I understand we are using the word customer service, but in my experience as a board member and just hearing from the community about how much of help, how much of care is being taken when they are expressing their frustrations, I really appreciate every effort that your team puts in.
Thank you.
I have firsthand heard from the community and they appreciate your effort. So I really don't want to call it the customer service word. It's something that you do with care and I appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate that. It is really important to the team.
Can I circle back really fast to something? Because I disagree with Trustee Modi. I think that parents who actually, want their village schools, and I've heard this for years, I've said it myself, we should verify to make sure, who's taking our kids' spots. I will happily fill out a form and take 10, 15 minutes to show that I live where I live because I know that that's helping keep my spot. So I think that the feedback's probably going to be a little more positive than you think. I just wanted to put that out there.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will see. We'll see. You want to take my over under?
Yeah,
on that?
I think the feedback on the, hey, this is helps verify that we are in our district is good. Again, I'm fully in support of it. My only concern is the actual form itself.
I have one quick question on the step-by-step instructions. There is a link to that you can click on that'll take you right to that enrollment section. Would it be helpful, or have you thought about adding it to the quick links on the district website?
That actually was a change as a result of my conversation with Trustee Modi. So if you go on the Student Services website now, on the right side, there actually is a quick link to address verification or change of address.
Okay, thank you. Because I went the back route because I wanted to see if I could find it and how challenging it would be, and it was. I mean,
It is much easier now.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
And I didn't see that until right now, so thank you for making those changes. If you go to that section,
Easier.
it's much clearer. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Item B, high school graduation and K-8 promotion dates. Staff report.
Yes, I have an updated selection of dates provided by the school sites, a Wednesday, Thursday, and high school ceremony. Now, multiple years, we've done it multiple ways. So you guys can divvy them up now, or we can reach out to you and collect them that way. If you're wondering why the areas were put in there, I thought it would be informative. If you don't find that informative, please ignore the areas.
I will point out so some of the villages though are split, and in the future we'll see that with Altamont, Cuesta maybe not, but I believe Altamont and Bethany are split. So Bethany portion of it is in area 2 as well, and I believe Altamont is split into.
Yes, part of our discovery
right?
is that we're going to have to think a little more detailed about how they fall.
Yeah.
We also, to be fully candid, we have a principal whose kid is promoting from the 8th grade, so we did a little adjustment for family reasons. But for this particular year and this adjusted schedule, this is where we usually have 1 or 2 board members at each of the dates. Staff join them, and then everyone attends the high school graduation ceremony. So there's no expectation that everybody's everywhere all at once, but these are the promotion times. They're all at the same time. And I was asked a very good question earlier this week. Just to remind everybody, the K-8 promotion ceremonies are expected to end at the 60-minute mark, 1 hour, with the exception of the the Lammersville, which one year went a little long, but we worked that out by razzing the principal. And the high school graduation ceremony is usually about 1 hour and 15 minutes, depending on the wind. And this year we're getting a ramp to help people get up the stairs a little bit better. Last year's the steps were a little bit hinky.
Nice.
So I would, I guess, request or state. I don't want to state. I'll request. I can attend Hanson's on May 28th, and then Bethany's on May 29th. Okay. If anyone else has, I'm happy to go anywhere.
I can attend Cardis on the 28th and Quest on the 29th.
Any other preferences?
I would like to request that they are on 8 separate nights so that I can go to all of them.
Yeah.
Any other
I would like that too.
preferences other than that?
If there's no conflicts with any other board member, I would request Cordis on the 28th and Costa on the 29th.
Trustee Olson, any requests?
I would like to take Altamont on the 29th, and I am, which one would you like on?
I can attend either, but maybe Wickland, since I probably know lots of kids.
Then I will go to Lammersville on the,
Okay.
yeah.
I think Trustee Daniel and Trustee Pombo both said Cortez. If I
Yeah, there's only 4 nights.
There's
so
2, so it's
Oh.
it's okay. Yeah, it's okay if they double up at one.
did
of
we
the
have someone?
schools.
But did we get someone for Lammersville?
Yes, we have
Okay, okay.
Trustee Olson at Lammersville. So we have all the schools covered.
Cool.
Do we
Cordis,
have someone for Costa?
we have.
Oh,
Trustee
okay, you're
Pombo.
Costa, I'm
Do
Cardis.
we have
Okay,
somebody
got it.
for Bethany?
We have Trustee Modi, and I
Okay.
can attend Bethany as well. That will give me 2. Okay, so I'll recap if I may. if I might, so Cordis has trustee Daniel and trustee Pombo. Hanson, these are all on Wednesday, has trustee Modi. Lammersville has trustee Olson, and Wickland has myself. On Thursday, Altamont has trustee Olson. Bethany will be trustee Modi and myself. Costa, trustee Pombo, and Cuesta, trustee Daniel. Did we get that correct? Yes.
Did you ask me?
Yeah, okay, I got it. I put it on the wrong spot. I got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments about that? Okay, good job. Item C, consideration of the CSBA Golden Gavel Award, and I am going to give this one to trustee Olson.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I asked for this to be placed on the agenda for two reasons. The primary reason is that they honor a board member of the year every year, and I'm going to embarrass somebody tonight, but I believe that trustee Pombo should be nominated by us as the board member of the year. There's not a person that I know that I can say has more integrity and serves with boardsmanship that exemplifies what a school board member should do, does the right thing for the right reasons, and always puts students first. And his years of service in our school district have been very impactful, and I think we could put it in a wonderful application for him. That how could they not pick him? And so I was hoping we could get some consensus on that part. That's part one. And then part two is that they do have a governance team of the year that, you know, and I see some of these districts that get it, and I'm thinking, do they do what we do? And, you know, like, I don't really do this work for rewards, but I think it would be nice to show other school boards what a really, you know, effective, cohesive school board looks like, because I think that's us. And so that would be the secondary consideration. But primarily, trustee Pombo, I feel like, I know he probably doesn't care about these kinds of things, but I think it would be wonderful for other school board members to get to know him.
Thank you, trustee Olson, and I agree. I think trustee Pombo would be an awesome nomination for the Golden Gavel Award. He's worked hard for probably more than 14 years now, and really dedicates so much of his time, not just to the board meetings, but to the entire district with everything he attends. And I agree. I think as a board, we do a great job. And so in terms of the board award, it would be nice. We don't always agree on everything. We have our hiccups, but we work through them. And I think it's definitely a board that is a high functioning board. Any other comments or questions?
So when I saw this discussion item, the first one for the individual board member, I was like, who other than trustee Pombo would be most eligible at the moment? So I wholeheartedly support that trustee Pombo should be nominated. The one question I had, though, which I'm going to ask, it mentioned current CSBA officers and directors are not eligible. Would that prevent you from?
No, I am a delegate. I'm not a officer.
Awesome, great. Thank you so much for clarifying that. And the idea about being asked to be a nominee for a governance team, not a nominee yet, but to be eligible, I think that's great. We are very unique and we are special, and our hearts are in the right place. So why not? Yeah.
I agree. I would support, and I think the more visibility that we can give our district for all the amazing things that are happening, the better, right? So the recognition, if the board were to receive it, I would view it as almost it's the district receiving it, and we just happen to be the avenue to shine a light on the district and the staff. So I fully support it, but I don't think it's. I want to make sure that we're not the ones thinking that we're all making a lot of amazing things happen. I think the staff does an excellent job.
Well said, trustee Modi. I think that was very well said.
And, and I appreciate the thought, trustee Olson, and I also appreciate the agreement of the rest of the board. And yes, it is a bit embarrassing, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
I know the writer, and I'm going to tell him to do a good job.
Does the board, can the board have input on what is written, or is that a staff thing?
I'll have
or-
to look at the application. The Golden Quill, which Brian Harrison won about 4 years ago, was not a substantial application. But I'm assuming this one will come with an essay. So I'll have to look at it and then get back to you.
Okay, well, it just does sound like we do have consensus, and so thank you, Trustee Olson, for bringing this up. And I'm excited to see where this goes. Okay, item 10, calendar. Sorry, item 12, calendar, Roman numerals. Item A, Monday, February 10th, 2025 is a district holiday for President Lincoln's birthday. Item B, Wednesday, February 12th is the Wellness Committee at 3:45 in the Professional Development Center. Item C, Monday, February 17th is a district holiday for President's Day. Item D, Wednesday, February 19th is our next regular governing board meeting here at in the district office at 7 o'clock. In a moment, we will adjourn to closed session where we will discuss the following: public employee discipline, dismissal, release, complaint, Government Code Section 54957, and conference with real property negotiators, Government Code Section 54956.8.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Pombo and a second by Trustee Daniel, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now adjourned with, motion carries with 5 ayes and no noes. We are now adjourned to closed session at 8:21